well known, okay?
Because
Because
when he got killed at the Alamo, he was so famous in America. He was actually kind of like a rock star, a celebrity. Matter of fact, next to General Jackson, President Jackson, he was the most famous man in America. And I read somewhere where grown men wept when they read about his death at the Alamo. They so moved him so much. So he was pretty famous. The picture that I posed next to was an 1834 portrait by Chester Harding, whose claim to fame was he was painted Sequoia and Catlin and was the last painter who painted a portrait of Daniel Boone 2 months before Boone passed away in 1820. A lot of people get Davy Crockett and Daniel Boone mixed up because he was played by the same actor. They both were played by the same actor, Fess Parker. Fess Parker played Crockett in the 50s for Disney, and then on his own for NBC in the 60s he played Daniel Boone for 5 years in a long-running TV series. So subsequently, sometimes when I'm playing Davy Crockett, they see the coonskin cap and they call me Daniel Boone because of that. And I go, y'all might confused. I was played by the same fellow on television.
but yeah, so likely we wouldn't know too much about the Alamo if Crockett hadn't been there.
The Alamo would have been probably a local story in Texas, and but Davy Crockett was famous and he died there. Just like I talk to people about the Battle of San Jacinto. Unless you are a Texan, you've probably never heard of it. Goliad Massacre. More men were killed at Goliad. Most people don't even know what happened because nobody famous died there. And they surrendered. Whereas the Alamo, supposedly nobody surrendered. However, we do know that there were some people captured. And whether it was Davy Crockett or not, we'll never know. We have some good Mexican accounts, but the Mexicans, you got to remember, after they were defeated at San Jacinto, would tell people what they wanted to hear. The translators. In other words, the De La Pena diary is the one that most experts, and one of my Facebook friends is Roger Borrell, and he is the expert of the Mexican Army in 1830s and the subsequent Mexican War in the 1840s. And he believes Crockett was captured. And he, I do too. Crockett was a politician. You got to remember, politicians try to talk their way out of anything. And so what if he was captured? He could have left any time during the siege. People were going in and out of the fort during the siege. Travis sent messengers out. And they got through the Mexican lines very easily. If Crockett really wanted to have left, he would have left.
But if he was there, he didn't survive the capture. It seems like they took several people.
He may have been wounded. Some of the Mexican accounts that I've read and the sources that I have put him in a room and wounded. And he's given an opportunity to surrender along with the other men in the room, and he does so. We don't know whether that's real or not. Like I said, the Mexican captives told the interrogators anything they wanted to hear, and pretty much put the blame on Santa Anna for executing them. But it was probably some of them that did it as well.
Well, yeah.
So we don't know. Crockett and the Alamo. I'm from Texas, so that's a story that I've grown up with all my life, and the fact that I happen to look like the historical Crockett, I think the good Lord has a sense of humor. And I've actually sometimes been told I'm channeling Davy Crockett. And I go, no, just an active imagination of a small child whose parents gave him a library card. I'll hold the book up again for reference. This was one of the first books I read on Davy Crockett when I was about maybe 5, 6 years old, maybe a little older than that. And it's been a long time, and I've probably forgotten. But I spent hours in the libraries when I was a little child. Of course, kids today don't have that. Believe it or not, I'll talk about Davy Crockett in here, and there'll be a child sitting here. He won't even know who I'm talking about. And I'll tell the parents, get the Disney film, educate me. That way he'll know what it is. It's pretty neat. Now, did you guys see the Billy Bob Thornton movie, The Alamo? Have you seen it?
I think I've seen 2 movies, or 3.
Yeah, there's been they made one where Brian Keith played Davy Crockett. That was for television in the 80s.
The old one. There was one before that.
Yeah.
There was
John Wayne played
John Wayne, and then there was one in the 80s, and then there was one in the 90s, wasn't
People
there?
think that John Wayne and Fess Parker are Davy Crockett. When they come in contact with me, and I'm probably about the height of Davy Crockett, because that vest that they have in Texas in the Alamo looked like it would fit me perfectly. And I always use the reference of the full-length portrait that was done of him in Washington, where they had to round up some stray dogs and he borrowed the hunting outfit and borrowed the gun. If you measure the gun, set it down like that, my gun comes up to about that far for me. So he was a short guy. He's not big, tall, 6 foot something like Fess Parker was, or John Wayne as well. So when people see me, they say, "Well, you're awfully short." And I said, "Well, I'm still growing." No, listen. I had an experience a few years ago when I was still teaching at the time, and Mary Ann Neely invited me to come to the tavern. The state legislature was hosting the Mobile Chamber of Commerce was hosting a party for the state legislature in the tavern. And it was a little dinner party get together. And the governor, I think it was Siegelman at the time, could not come. So he sent his liaison, which is a general of the Alabama National Guard. And so here I am, I'm playing Colonel Crocket. I'm dressed up in the finery, frock coat, not the hunting coat, but the gentleman's attire. But I have a coonskin cap, because that's what people expect. And so this general of the National Guard comes through the door, and I go, "Well, how do there, General? I know you're a general because you got them hairbrushes on. You know, I knew a fellow named General Jackson who had the gall to call himself President of the United States." And he was like, and I said, "Well, I'm Colonel David Crockett, sir." And so he went on into the party. It was very fun because the humor that Crockett had, he would, well, anyway, to make it long story short, I'll tell you what I did. We got ready to eat dinner. They were ready to serve us. And there were young ladies at the back door at the tavern and the front door of the tavern greeting the legislators as they came in the door. So the bar was right there next to the back door of the tavern, and there were a bunch of them standing around. Why not? Politics, strange bedfellows. And so I walked out, we were getting ready to eat, and I looked at the two young ladies and said, "Now, young ladies, you've been shaking hands with these gentlemen all night long. You go wash your hands before we eat, because these boys are politicians. You don't know where they've been." And half of them heard me, I know, because I said it loud enough. So anyway, at the end of the evening, people are leaving, and I'm standing there with Mary Ann Neely and Craig Mann, and I think there was somebody else with us. And I'm saying goodbye, and the general comes through. Now, there's been a lot of alcohol consumed that night. And so I said, "Well, General, hope you had a good time, sir. Thank you for coming." He said, "Oh, Colonel Crockett." And we had just invaded Afghanistan at the time. It was after 9/11. And he said, "Colonel, we're fighting another war. How would you feel like fighting on mountains about 10,000 feet tall?" I said, "Well, General, height doesn't bother me. You know what did I say, hailstones you've had in your drink all evening? General Jackson commissioned me to wring the tail off of Halley's Comet. Brought him back with my respect, sir." Mary Ann Neely hit the floor. She was laughing so hard. It was really very funny. He just went like, he couldn't top it. He just went out the door. He didn't want to deal with that at all. And that's a true story. Crockett was a smart mouth. He met the great orator Daniel Webster, and this is documented. He went to hear him speak when Webster was a senator and Crockett was a congressman. And afterwards he was introduced to Daniel Webster, and he came up to Daniel Webster, and this is what's been written down as the conversation. "So you are the great Daniel Webster from Massachusetts, sir?" He said, "Well, yes, sir, I am Webster from Massachusetts. Sir, I hear tell you's a great man. See, I just heard you speak." Excuse me, I'm getting ahead of him. I just heard, hang on a second, I'm having one of those senior moments, folks. He said, "I hear tell you was a great man." "Well, sir, I'm Webster from Massachusetts." "Well, sir, I heard you was a great man. However, I no longer think so, because I just heard you speak and I understood everything you said." Think about that. Another time, there was another congressman or something from Massachusetts. Crockett seemed to have a problem with people from Massachusetts, I guess. Crockett's walking along Pennsylvania Avenue, which at that time was just a dirt street. And there was a herd of cattle being driven up the street to the stockyards. And one of the legislatures from Massachusetts, congressman or something, saw Crockett on the walkway. He was walking and saw the cattle. And he said, "Colonel Crockett, I see some of your constituencies are in town." And Crockett looked over to see "Where are they going, sir?" And Crockett said, they're going to Massachusetts, sir, to teach school."
Al, we're with Al Bouler,
Huh?
Al, tell us your name.
Al Bouler.
Al Bouler, and we're in Montgomery. It's
Old Alabama town. We're sitting in the Rose Morris house, which is a southern plantation house we have here.
It's been brought in, and we've just had the good fortune to meet the ghost of Davy Crockett, I believe.
Well, maybe, maybe not. I think the good Lord just has a good sense of humor. However, I do have this reoccurring dream a lot at night that I've passed away, go up to the pearly gates, St. Peter's standing there, and he says, okay, we're going up to the big house, everybody get in the back of the truck. Bouler, there's a fellow named Crocket wants to talk to you about that coonskin cap. So I keep having that dream a lot. So we'll find out if it comes true.
We're here at Old Alabama Town, and you can find it on the web at where?
OldAlabamaTown.com.
And
we have two Facebook pages, Old Alabama Town, and then one that's associated with the school tours and the tours we have called Old Alabama Town Tours.
So you'll
look
want
us up, like us on Facebook, and come see us sometime. We're right downtown, in the heart of Montgomery, and we have about 50 buildings that have been moved from other locations to create a little village. And we're open from 9 to 4:30 in the afternoon during the summer, and from 9 to 4 in the winter months. And you get the tickets and you get the tour through the buildings. We have another section of buildings that actually a guided tour that features the only building that's in its original location. Everything else, like this house, has been moved from other locations for you to come and visit. And do come and join us and just walk around our little village and get a little hint of history.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.